Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. A couple days ago, we did a video about Officer Greg Anderson. And Officer Anderson, if you haven't clicked on that video, please give it a watch. If you've already seen Officer Anderson's video, then you're in the right place. Okay, so he did this video sitting in his patrol car, didn't identify the department he was with, and spoke about police officers across the country enforcing unconstitutional rules, I'm going to call them. They're not laws. Their mandates, their executive orders, their acts in some ways, they call them emergency acts or whatever they call them, but they're definitely not laws passed by either a state legislature or some kind of federal legislature, so or local, whatnot. And he speaks about how police officers are being made to do this, and it puts cops in a really tough situation. And he really stands by his conviction, saying, I took an oath when he was in the military. He took an oath as a police officer to uphold the Constitution, and the things that these cops are being made to do were bad, they were unconstitutional, and he wouldn't stand for anything like that, which I commend him on. I also looked at the video and said, wow, this guy's got a lot of guts saying something like this, because police departments in general aren't going to like it. But he was very careful to shield his department from unnecessary publicity. And I'm looking at it saying, when I was a cop in a big city, they would have gotten rid of us for doing something like that. They would figure out who you are, and they would figure out a way to get rid of you. And there's always those catch-all clauses where they could take disciplinary action against you. And we did over the years, working in New York City for me, came across situations from time to time, whether it was a large-scale event or a large-scale demonstration, where they would give us some kind of objectives into dealing with the crowd that kind of bordered the constitutionality of what you were doing. And you're always put in that position. And I commended him for taking a stand, because I don't think I have the guts to take that kind of stand, knowing what you have to lose. Which is your job, your livelihood. You have a home, a family at home, a mortgage to pay, kids to support, a wife to support. You might have elderly parents to support, whatever it might be. Losing your livelihood would also mean potentially losing your medical benefits, losing everything. You got a lot to lose when you open your mouth, even when you speak the truth. And all he did was offer his opinion. He didn't refuse to do something, as far as I know. He just gave his opinion on what's going on. And his opinion was well received, especially by the police world, but it was well received by the civilian world too. And the comments that I got were all positive. That it's easy for these millionaire politicians to tell us what to do when they live in a mansion and have everybody catering to them hand and foot. Retired police officers chimed in, and they said that they agree with him wholeheartedly. That here's one, unconscionable that they are being ordered to enforce executive orders placed by tyrants. And I agree with that as well. And somebody talked about, when does an executive order become serious enough to be enforceable? When is it a catastrophe? Is it a pandemic? Those are terms that really aren't well defined. Although I did hear a pandemic definition, but that's really got nothing to do with this. But then he talks about the 2009-2010 swine flu, or H1N1 virus or issue or pandemic, whatever you might want to call that had a higher mortality rate, and none of this went on. And a lot of positive things, saying he's correct, that he's a fine police officer, he sets a good example for cops, and he does. The problem is that cops are put into these situations all the time, and they could potentially lose their jobs. And the smaller the department they work for, the more chance they have to actually give their opinion, especially when they do it in such a professional fashion as he did it. He didn't go out there, cursing and ranting like a lunatic. He went out there and gave a really, really good talk for about 10 minutes or so, not even 10 minutes. Presented a great argument, spoke very well, and didn't sound like a madman, and represented his department really well, even though he wasn't representing his department. A small department, I think, is more willing to support their officers, because their officers mean more to them. We're in a big city department, like where I was from New York City. During the time that I worked as a New York City cop, in my 20 years, there was north of 30,000 uniformed officers on the streets. That's an army. That's larger than an army for a lot of countries. So they didn't give a crap about you. You were just a number. And, they loved you when everything went right. But even if you did everything right and something went wrong, they would sell you out in a heartbeat. And believe me, I know. Maybe one day we'll tell that story. But they'll sell you out in a heartbeat to make themselves look better. And the higher you got up the ranks, the more you'd sell those cops working the streets out. And the people way at the top, it's all political, and they don't care about you at all. They could care less what they do to you. So most cops are going to keep their mouth shut, and they're going to do their job, and they're going to follow these unconstitutional orders because they don't want to lose their job and potentially lose everything. The ones that are financially secure enough maybe to do that, then they can go out there and open their mouth. But this guy seemed to do it in a real nice way, and now he's in hot water with his job. So what I suspected was going to happen, just from watching the video and knowing how police departments react to things, did happen. He started to get some positive from his department, and then he started to get some negative, and now they're looking to take a little action. So we're going to play his second video. He did a second follow-up video, letting everybody know what's going on with him. And I really, really want to hear from you in the comments what you think. What you think about this whole thing, what you think that's going on in our country with the police officers having to take action. Just today, I watched a video of a gym owner in North Carolina who's fighting back and forth and finally, had a conversation with his local police chief in a small department. And the chief was like, listen, dude, I'm going to make it a warning. I know you have a business, you have a family to support, and you have employees that you want to pay, and you have rent to pay, and you have taxes to pay. And then the next day or couple days later, that police chief was suddenly removed, and the police captain who was breaking this gym owner's chops is now the acting chief, and small town politics are playing in on him. And then in Jersey, just this past week, you got a gym owner who opened up his gym, and the local cops come, and they said, I just want to let everybody know that you're in violation of the governor's, mandate or executive order, whatever they call it. Have a good day, everybody be safe, and the cop leaves. And of course, that makes the news, and everybody's happy. Look, those cops, they did the right thing finally by somebody. And then later on in the day, I don't know whether it was the same department or a different department or the state police or whoever, the police come later on in the day, and they, I think they issued some kind of legal papers to the owner, and they actually arrested a patron to the gym, put him in cuffs, took him away. I don't know what they charged him with, but they arrested him for patronizing the gym that was open in defiance of the governor's mandate, let's say, just to make it easy. Which is really odd because this is New Jersey that we're talking about, and New Jersey is letting tons of criminals out of jails because of the Rona, and they're going to lock up some guy for going to a gym that was open. So let's listen to Officer Greg Anderson's second video. As it turns out, he works for the Port of Seattle Police Department. From what I'm told, it's the Port of Seattle Police Department. I guess they have their own department for the ports. And he put a second video up explaining where he's at in his situation now. So let's hear what you have to say in the comments, and then we're going to come back because there is a third video, and there is some controversy now about Officer Anderson, and we'll discuss that in the next video after we see your comments. All right, and without further ado, here's Officer Greg Anderson in video number 2.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I just kind of wanted to take a couple minutes, get everybody caught up to speed on what's going on in my life. I've been getting a lot of questions, and figured I'd just make a second video and answer some of the things that I've been receiving. I first wanted to say I'm humbled by the response that my video got. It's been viewed millions and millions of times. People all over the country have been calling me, texting me, sending me emails, comments, and the overwhelming majority of it has been positive. And so I think that's pretty cool, because my whole thought process on making that video was trying to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the public. And I've seen both sides with open arms willing to embrace that. And I think that's a step in the right direction. So that's pretty cool. One thing that I've seen come up over and over in the comments, and I've been in emails sent to me, is, are you going to get in trouble? What happened to you? Or is there any discipline any discipline taking place? And so I figured I'd take a chance and give you a little synopsis of the last 3 days of my life after posting that video. So I posted the video on Tuesday, was it May 5th? And it took it took a day or two before it really started getting a lot of traction. But the next morning when I woke up on the 6th, I think it was only at a few thousand views. And I had received a message from my command saying, "Wow, Greg, what a powerful message. We agree with that 100%, well done." And that was actually a relief for me, because I was like, great, I know that it's risky putting something out like that, but I felt like it was so grounded in integrity and liberty that no one would have an issue with it. So that was a relief. And then fast forward 3 hours later, I get another phone call from my command, and it said, hey Greg, the video's up to 400,000 views. It's time to pull the plug on this thing. And I immediately, it kind of caught me off guard, because I said, why would we want to pull the plug on something that was already acknowledged as a good and powerful message from one law enforcement officer to others? And I said, yeah, that doesn't really make sense to me. I think maybe we should embrace this message and we should share this with other officers. And he said, listen, it's not up to me. I have been directed to tell you to take the video down, and I need to know if you're going to take the video down. And I said, no, I can't take the video down, because if you listen to my first video, the whole message that I was trying to share with people and impart on them is, if you believe in something in your heart, you have to stand by that conviction, even if it costs you everything. And like I said last time, I have 3 little kids. I have this house. I have another house. I cannot afford to lose my job. But after putting that message out there and sharing that with America, and it was so well received, I can't then just say, even though that's what I believe, I'm going to take a step back, I'm going to retract my words, and I'm going to allow my command to prevent me from sharing my heart and my truth. And I said, so with that in mind, sir, I can't take the video down. And, I didn't know where this was going to go. And I immediately started thinking about, what are they going to try and gig me on? What did I do wrong? What policy did I violate? And I got called back a couple hours later, and by this time, it was skyrocketing. Everyone in the agency was seeing it. Cops from when I was an officer down in Los Angeles, they were contacting me. I got a call, and it said, listen, the video needs to be taken down right now, and you need to accept a letter of reprimand, or we're going to take a very different approach to this if you say no again. Well, I'd already put myself on that hill, and I had to be willing to die on that hill. They said they determined the video was a violation of policy, and that if I wouldn't take it down, that allegations would be made against me, and so on and so on. And so I told them, no, I'm not going to take it down. You do what you need to do. But the principle of it is rooted in truth, and it was a positive message that was received by millions and millions of people. If you want me to take it down, I have to respectfully refuse. And it was interesting because they kept citing different policies, like, oh, it was the social media policy, or some of your equipment may have been identifiable. And that kind of seemed like a moot point to me. And it was strange, because why was the message okay at 5 a.m. and then 3 hours later, there was a problem with it? And so I was later contacted by the chief of police. He's someone that I have great respect for. He's a good man to work for. And he's the one that shot me straight. And he said, Greg, if you openly defy your governor, you can't be a police officer in the state of Washington. And I told him, I said, you know what, I can respect that. And if I were in your office, I would shake your hand, respectfully disagree, and say, maybe I'm not meant to be a police officer in the state of Washington then. And here's my thoughts on that, okay? You have to do your research. You have to figure out what your true north is, what your truth is, and where you stand on issues. For me personally, I believe that the Constitution supersedes all other documents, all other laws. There's case law supporting that. If you look at Marbury versus Madison, 1803, it says any future laws created that are repugnant, meaning in conflict with the Constitution, are null and void. So when I look at how I feel comfortable enforcing the law, and I see people exercising constitutional rights, it doesn't matter if there's different executive orders, requests from mayors, requests from governors. To me, the Constitution supersedes that, and I'm gonna stand with the people. Well, unfortunately, higher up in all agencies, there's a political game being played, and now I am on a administrative leave status pending termination. I was told by both the agency and the union that I was asked to take it down, and I refused. So that's refusing a direct order. It's an insubordination charge, and it will result in me ultimately being let go from the agency. And I said, you know what? If that's what you guys have to do, if that video is so bad that you want to take my career from me and you want to leave my, potentially take my ability away to provide for my family because of that video, do it. Because I'm going to stand by my convictions, just like I said in my last video. So yeah, it's weird, how fast your life can change in a week. It's something that I never thought would happen. I never thought that I would make a video that would resonate with millions of people. But my head is held high. I'm not intimidated or upset by how this played out. Like I said in my last video, man, I fought in the streets of Ramadi during 04 and 05. I came to terms long ago that my convictions and my beliefs may cost me everything up into my life. And even though it's 15 years later and I'm a police officer in Seattle, Washington, that truth still remains for me. So I don't have an option to back down or feel sorry for myself or give in and say, you know what, I got kids and I think I'm just gonna take the letter. No, if they wanna do me like this for standing up for liberty, they can do that.